Hi, my name is Pat Ferry. I'm the president of Concordia University, and it's a great privilege for me to have the opportunity to address you in this way today. One of the great things that I have a chance to do as the university's president is to tell the story, of the university to all kinds of different people. But I particularly enjoy telling parts of Concordia's story to Concordia's students. Because really this is your story too now. And I'd like to share with you some of the things that I think are important about Concordia, about our past, about who we are, and about where we're heading as a university community. So I want to lay out for you what I think are a few of the highlights of Concordia's history, and again, reiterating that Concordia's history, Concordia's story expands now, and you're a part of that story too. So maybe it would be useful for you to know where we, all of us, have come from as a university. And then to zero in a little bit as a segue into who we are now and what is it as a mission that drives Concordia, the faculty and staff and the students who receive the Concordia education. So I'll walk you through that, and we'll look forward to seeing if some of this resonates with you as well. You know, every fall I'm invited to step into the classroom of our incoming freshman class, different classes of students in what we call LA 105, which is the orientation or introduction to higher education for those basically 18-year-olds, traditional college students. But Concordia is of course a university that transcends traditional age college students or even on-campus students. It includes students of various ages who take the Concordia experience in all kinds of different ways, and that would include all of you. So again, thank you for this opportunity to share a little bit. The university's been around since 1881. That's where we're founded. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to take you through every single point along the way, but the founding is obviously one of the highlights of the university's history. And it started as a school that was very different from the one that we experience now in many ways. And yet, as I'll point out a little later on, the more we've changed, the more we also remain the same. But in the beginning, Concordia started out as a high school. It was a four-year high school and then a two-year junior college, whose really specific mission at that time was to prepare young men to go on for further study at the seminary in order to become pastors in the Lutheran Church. That's still something that we do, by the way. We have a very strong pre-seminary program, and it continues to be a vital part of our mission. But at one point in time, and for many years, it was the exclusive focus of the Concordia mission. And it was different in that, again, these were young boys, high school kids, most of them living on campus in kind of a sort of a, I don't know, almost a military regiment. They had very specific hours for how they conducted their day from the time they woke up in the morning until lights out in the evening. And they followed a very traditional curriculum and one that was a kind of classical model in a way, where they learned all kinds of things about history, about language, about literature, and all of that, again, preparatory for further study at the seminary. This pattern was one that continued, as I mentioned, for many decades, and in fact, even still, I had the chance to engage some of our graduates from the 50-year classes who followed a comparable sort of curriculum. And while it might sound very regimented, and clearly it was, and their lives might sound regimented, and clearly they were, nevertheless, those guys will tell me about ways in which they kind of got around the rules a little bit. I guess college students still do that from time to time. I warned them that the statute of limitations on their diploma has not lapsed and so forth, so not to go too far with their stories. But they were kids. They were kids, high school kids, college kids, learning new things. But they were young people who were in that same kind of transition of lifetime that many young people still go through today. So that was the highlight. The first of highlights, I guess, our founding in the church basement of historic Trinity Lutheran Church in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with a handful of teachers and only a few students. Gradually, we outgrew that basement. We established Concordia College in what is still called in Milwaukee the the Concordia neighborhood, where we resided for almost a century, really, and carried out our mission in that place. Among the other highlights, kind of fast forward along the way here, I would include things like when the college went from language instruction in German, where everything was done in German, to English. That was during the First World War, when it was not so popular to do things in German. People changed their names from Schmidt to Smith, and colleges changed their curriculum. If everything had been provided in German before, English became, of course, the language. You'd have to fast forward even further, though, to see some significant curricular changes. Among them, not the least in terms of significance, was when Concordia became a co-educational institution for the first time. That was really kind of transforming moment in Concordia's history in the 1960s, 1970s, when that began to occur. I still meet some of the guys who were at Concordia about that time, and they'll tell you that at first they didn't like the idea very much. They liked the old way, and then the girls started to arrive on campus, and they decided maybe it wasn't so bad after all. So that was important. It continues to be important. More than 60% of Concordia's students today are young women or are women of various ages, and so that was obviously a very important moment in our history. Around about that same time, Concordia began to branch out in terms of its curricular offering. Not only pre-seminary, but teacher education for future Lutheran teachers. Our Lutheran Lay Ministry Institute was established. But we also began to add programs that were not specifically church worker oriented. And so, for example, Concordia acquired Spencerian Business College. In some ways, our School of Business Administration is actually older than the university itself, because Spencerian was founded before Concordia was. But now our business school is our largest school on campus. We introduced our nursing program, and that was obviously very significant because we have so many students now who are involved in a healthcare program of one sort or another. So as Concordia began to expand its curricular offerings, we also began to see some increase in our enrollment as well. Nevertheless, at our old Concordia neighborhood location, the college struggled. It struggled to survive. Enrollment was a challenge. New programs certainly helped, but nevertheless there were questions about whether or not Concordia would even continue to exist, as many colleges then, as is also true today, frankly, closed because of low enrollment. So the college looked for ideas, strategies for how to remain vital. And we had an opportunity that was perhaps as significant a moment in Concordia's history as any other. When Concordia had the opportunity to move from our Milwaukee location to our present main campus location in Mequon, Wisconsin, right along the shores of Lake Michigan. This campus had formerly been owned by the School Sisters of Notre Dame, and it was a Roman Catholic convent, and so it was very different utilization, different purpose. But the college was able to acquire the facility for $8 million, which was much lower than the original asking price of the facility. And we moved out here, lock, stock, and barrel, about 500 or 600 students strong. And no one would have imagined at that point the kind of growth that we've experienced over 3 decades since that time. Concordia now has a student population of over 8,000 students. That includes, of course, residential students, but we have expanded our ways of delivering our education to satellite locations around the region, and of course to online students like yourself as well. And so we're grateful for that growth, not anticipated perhaps 3 decades ago, but clearly an important part of Concordia's story. I would add one other historic moment that's occurred really recently. It was just in the year 2013 that Concordia took over the responsibility for our sister campus, Concordia University in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And now the university is one university with 2 residential campuses, Mequon and Ann Arbor, with all kinds of satellite locations and with students really learning around the world through the benefit of distance education. So our history is an extraordinary one. Obviously we could talk more about it, but I really want to also share with you Uh, as I mentioned before, while much has changed, the most important part of who we are as a university remains very much the same. And I believe that that's perhaps best captured in the university's mission statement. And let me share that with you briefly, but then kind of deconstruct it for you in ways that I think are important for us as we think about who we are and what we're trying to achieve. So the mission statement goes like this: Concordia is a Lutheran higher education community committed to helping students develop in mind, body, and spirit for service to Christ in the church and in the world. 3 parts. Let me talk about the 3 of them. Again, we've changed a lot, but our Lutheran Christian identity, Concordia is a Lutheran higher education community, it remains very much intrinsic to who we are and how we identify ourselves and what's important to us. Our Lutheran Christian identity is something that we want to see reflected in every student experience, the curricular experience, the co-curricular experience. It is certainly our sincerest hope that you will see it as a part of your experience as well, that Christian faith and higher learning are woven together in an inextricable way, not in a forced way or in a contrived way, but in a way that is readily apparent in your every interaction, whether it's in the courses that you study or in the relationships that you enjoy with our faculty and staff. That's important to who we are. And I say that with rather emphatic tone because while there are many colleges and universities across the country that have had historic relationships to Christian denominations of one sort or another, many of those have placed that kind of on the side or on the margin, or they've said it's a part of our heritage, but really not so definitive for us anymore. That's not true of Concordia. It really truly defines not only who we've been, but who we are and who we aspire to be as we go forward. Concordia is a Lutheran higher education community. That's manifested in the second part of that mission statement, I think, in this way, that helps to develop students in mind, body, and spirit. So in other words, we want ours to be a holistic educational experience. Obviously, intellectually, we want to challenge our students. We want them to grow in their understanding of various academic disciplines and find ways in which they can put all of those things together so that they become well educated, whatever their particular academic program might be. That should be realized in students who become critical thinkers, effective communicators, good writers, good speakers, problem solvers. They can bring all of those things to bear in their various vocations, in their workplace and in their communities and so forth. So we want our students to be intellectually challenged, and we want to provide rigorous curriculum that will challenge them, but also caring, competent faculty who will help those students to achieve those challenging goals. I think most people, when they think of college, they think of things like that. So we're in some ways not very different, but we're different in this way that our education is not just about helping you to grow intellectually. It's really meant to be, again, a holistic experience so that you grow, you develop in mind, body, and spirit. Now, it may be true that students who live on campus as a part of a residential experience, we can do a little bit more with the physical development piece than we can with an online learner. Nevertheless, I'm grateful for this opportunity to emphasize that we recognize that our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit. That's what the Scripture says, that we're fearfully and wonderfully made, and that these bodies are the ones that will carry us through this lifetime journey of ours, and that it's very important for us to care for them, to nurture them, and to love and to care for our neighbor in the same way as well. Perhaps enough said on that for the moment, but it's really that third piece that really sets Concordia apart. We want our students to grow in mind, body, and spirit. We are spiritual beings as much as we are physical beings. And if you have an education that doesn't take that into account, then in my estimation, that's an education that is to some extent bereft of the entire human experience. So at Concordia, that's not an issue, because we want our students to grow spiritually as well. And so within the context of this Christian spiritual condition, the spiritual community, we want you to challenge yourself to think about the things of the spirit as well as the things of the mind and of the body as well. I would suggest to you that in some ways that would be a sufficient mission statement, that we're a Lutheran Christian community of higher learning that helps our students to grow. But there's one more line to the mission statement, and in some ways it's perhaps the most important line. So let me walk you through it again one more time. Concordia is a Lutheran higher education community committed to helping students develop in mind, body, and spirit for service to Christ in the church and in the world. So the way I see it, the university's mission is not accomplished unless and until our students accomplish it. Unless and until you take your native gifts, the gifts God has given you, the experience that you've had at Concordia as you've grown in mind, body, and spirit, and you use all of that to have an impact in the lives of others with whom you come into contact in your place of work, in your family, in your church, in your community. So what really ought to set a Concordia graduate apart, a Concordian, is that commitment to making a difference in the lives of others, that you are, and you recognize that you are, as a part of your own vocation, your calling from God, called to serve, called to make a difference in the lives of others. As a Concordia student, as a Concordian, we want yours to be a truly rich learning experience, one that helps to form and to shape and to define who you are as a person now and into the future. And as a Concordian, you follow in the train of Concordia graduates who have led the way before you for since 1881, for a long time. A distinguished group of people who are making a difference, who have made a difference. And I thank you for allowing us to take this journey with you and look forward to ways in which it will help to shape, inform, and to define who you are as well.